You say that, what do you, now, murders, of course, solved murders are never closed as closed. They become cold and so forth. But what is your impression of the status of the investigation into Joan's death now? It's not closed, but is it inactive? Do you think there are some leads that are being pursued? Is anything going on from the official investigative end of this?
When Freedom of Information requests were made, things got pretty heated out there, and all of a sudden, Joan Webster's case became classified as recently reopened. It's therefore being able to kind of hide behind and use that law to their advantage to keep people from accessing those files and for an independent investigation. Someone else, fresh eyes with fresh knowledge, able to take a look and go, this wasn't right. And that's why I'm so very concerned about what's going on out there. The office that currently is custodian of those files, Essex County District Attorney's Office in Massachusetts, they have come out publicly and said that they are using Mr. Burke's book as a basis to open up other cold cases. Now, they refused to answer whether Jones was one of them, although I have that on an official document that Jones' case was reopened. But they're using it for other cold cases that are more similar to what happened in, they had young women who were from, the red light district of Boston, cases that were never explained, and, seeing if they can't tag those murders on Mr. Paradiso, they label him now as a serial killer. And I don't think the man murdered anybody.
Your efforts now, you have new information and so on. Could you tell us what you've done to try to get that out? I mean, when you've contacted, if you have contacted the police agency or agencies and said, hey, I've got this new information about Joan's murder, will someone take a look? Have they just told you, no, we're not interested, or we already know about it, or how have you been handled in that regard when you've tried to bring certain facts to their attention?
It's been interesting. The first one contact I made, and that was actually before the book came out, in 2007, I called the district attorney's office out there, and I spoke with a trooper, Brian O'Neill, spoke to him anonymously, didn't tell him who I was, didn't tell him what case this was about, and I told him the nature of some information that I did have. He said it would be extremely relevant. I was encouraged to bring it forward. He suggested that it might be related to a murder case in New Hampshire, which was not the case. When I did finally get the courage to come forward with information and let them know what case it was, they would hang the phone up on me. They would not return phone calls. They would not return faxes. They would not... I've also appealed to the Attorney General's office, Martha Coakley, and was flatly refused. I appealed to the Secretary of the Department of Safety, which happens to be the former Essex County District Attorney at the time of these cases. So he was the gentleman that did not indict David Doyle for Maria Iannuzzi's murder, and basically get no response. I know that my investigator got a very heated call from one of the assistant district attorneys in Essex County during the course of trying to gain information, and was demanding to know who his client was, and they're very hostile. And as a matter of fact, I have gotten feedback of some pretty nasty smearing.
And where do you foresee this going out? It seems like you've attempted to interest the parties that should be interested, and obviously you've not gotten a great response or a positive response. Do you think you have other options?
I do. Okay. I do have other options. I do have other options that are being explored. right now, my main focus is to bring this attention to the attention of, the public. People need to be aware of circumstances where there are wrongful convictions and where, the victims become victimized all over again, and the tally number for victims just continues to escalate because you're not really looking for the truth, and you're not really looking for justice. That did not happen in Joan's case at all. Yes, it is something that people need to be aware of. I mean, there have been two cases recently that have surfaced. One is the Amy Bishop case, which was from she had a 1986 shooting in Massachusetts.
Just to remind our listeners, Amy Bishop is the professor who gunned down recently, a month ago or so, gunned down 3 of her associates.
Right, the 3 professors in Atlanta. And she shot her brother when, many years ago in Massachusetts, it was swept under the rug. Another case that came to the surface recently, and that was during the Senate race out there, was the Fells Acres case, where 3 innocent people were put in jail for many years on child abuse charges that were false and with false testimony. Massachusetts has got a whole string of these, and these cases all took place at the same time that Joan's and Marie Iannuzzi's cases were taking place. And there is documented evidence that there was corruption both in the FBI and in, on the state level. They have to be looked at, when there's this much question. For me, it's a matter of being very outspoken and coming forward publicly. I'm doing everything I can to, try and bring awareness to the case, but I'm also pursuing some other avenues as well. Still, I still have belief in the system. There were good officers that were involved in Joan's investigation. This hurts them as much as it does, the other victims. They were out there in earnest trying to find my sister-in-law. And the way she was found should have been screaming to everybody that this case has to be looked at again, and that should have happened in 1990. And once again, pretty much got swept under the rug.